Hey everyone, it's Lisa from the blog farmhouseonboone.com, and today I want to show you how to make a sourdough chicken pot pie. I get asked a lot if a recipe can be made in a non-sourdough version. This is one that actually can be, because I do just put my sourdough biscuits on top, but you could just as easily put any other biscuit recipe. Now, as usual, this whole recipe will be over on the blog with a printable version. So if you want to remember all of the amounts that I said, you can head over there at farmhouseonboone.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. So I'm gonna start by cutting up 3 potatoes. I just kind of have somewhat small red potatoes. I didn't even peel them. 4 carrots. Now I'm just gonna dice these pretty small. They can be in larger chunks, they just take a little bit longer to cook. I will tell you that this meal, I've been testing this recipe, it's probably the 4th time by now, has become my family's absolute favorite. They do not mind at all that I had to test it again and again. Now what's wonderful about this meal is it is a 1-pot meal, so you're not gonna be making a ton of dishes. All goes in 1 pot. I'm gonna get about 1/4 of a cup of butter going with this. I'm also gonna do 1 medium onion and 4 garlic cloves minced. I'm just gonna let all these veggies saute until they're almost soft. They don't have to be completely soft because they're gonna cook more later, but about 5 to 10 minutes at medium to low heat. All right, once those veggies are a little bit soft, add 3 cups of bone broth. These are my homemade. Just got this out of the Instant Pot in the last few minutes, but you could also, of course, use store-bought. I've even been out of bone broth trying to make this recipe, and I just use water. So that is totally a possibility too. Now I like to use a 14-inch cast iron skillet for this. It doesn't quite fit in the 12-inch. If you have maybe a 12-inch and then maybe a smaller one, you could do that. Or you can make this in a 9x13. You'll just have to saute your veggies in something else and then put them in the 9x13 dish and then bake it in that. Okay, to this I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of flour. I just have my freshly ground whole wheat flour. About a tablespoon of dried parsley. Now, of course, you could use fresh if you have it as well. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon each of garlic and onion powder. This dish just has so much flavor. And 3 teaspoons of salt. Now, that might sound like a lot of salt, but you have to remember we're using homemade bone broth that has no salt, potatoes that have no salt, chicken that I made with no salt. Now, if you are using a component that is salted, like say you have a rotisserie chicken, or you're using some broth from the store that's already been salted, definitely you're gonna wanna cut down on that a little bit. But if you're doing all homemade, you're gonna need to add quite a bit of salt to make it delicious. All right, next I'm gonna add a cup of frozen peas. Fresh will also work, of course. and 4 cups of cooked chicken. I just made this today, but it's wonderful if you have leftover chicken or if you are a meal planner, freezer cook type person and you make up a whole bunch of chicken at once and store it in bags in the freezer. This meal is excellent for that. And a half a cup of heavy cream. Now I often get questions about dairy-free and gluten-free versions of things. This is one that if you have a gluten-free biscuit recipe, you could just put, instead of the flour in the main part here, you could do some arrowroot powder or coconut flour would work great. So yes, you definitely can. Over on the blog for this recipe, there will be some dairy-free and gluten-free instructions over there as well. I'm also gonna add a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper. I know I'm gonna eventually wear my family out on this recipe, but we have been just loving it lately. I don't think they're wore out on it just yet. You just wanna cook for about 5 minutes until it's thickened just a touch. Now it'll thicken more in the oven. And I like to leave it kind of liquidy so it soaks up in the biscuit. The next component of this is the sourdough biscuits. Now I shared this recipe on my YouTube channel and blog about a month or 2 ago. Basically, the night before you want to make this, you need to prepare ahead by mixing up some sourdough starter as well as flour and a few other things. And then the next day you add in a couple more things, which I've already done. This just gives it the benefit of soaking grains, which if you're unfamiliar with sourdough, basically just makes whole grains more digestible for your body. To make this, I'm just gonna flatten out my biscuit dough and use either a biscuit cutter or the top of a mason jar or any makeshift biscuit cutter. I'm always using something different, I feel like, whatever I can find. And just top your pot pie with the biscuits. Now I like to make around 12 biscuits, but I do not measure. It will be perfect either way. All right, I'm just gonna pop this into a 400-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll be all ready to have some dinner. All right, well, I hope that your family loves this recipe as much as mine sure does. It's a great one to have on hand for leftover chicken or anytime that you just wanna get a lot of veggies and healthy whole grains that have been fermented, as well as some protein-rich chicken, all in one pot meal that's super fast to make. I just love it. It just meets all the qualifications for a really great dinner. If you try this recipe and you love it as much as our family does, make sure to head over to the blog and give it a rating. It really helps my recipes to do better on the internet, on Pinterest, on Facebook, whenever people see that other people have tried it and that they liked it. So if you feel so inclined, head over to farmhouse.boone.com, visit the link in the description below, and give this recipe a rating. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're brand new to sourdough starter, head over to my blog, farmhouse.boone.com, and in the main navigation, you can click on food from scratch and then sourdough, and there will be all kinds of sourdough recipes as well as sourdough education. If you're brand new to the concept and you wanna know how to make your own starter or why you would even want to do that, it's all right there on my blog. All right, well, if you're brand new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I make 2 new videos every week on food from scratch, natural living in a handmade home. Thank you so much for stopping by the farmhouse.